Hey friends, how are you doing today? I hope you're feeling blessed and staying in God's presence, and if not, I hope you feel uplifted after today's video. If you're new here, welcome to His Princess Christian community, where we read a chapter of the Bible every day and then discuss it afterwards and in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and it opens the door for more people to join our community. And while you're at it, check the description box. We got a lot of great stuff in there. So today we're reading Matthew chapter 25, but before we get started, I wanted to say a prayer if you wouldn't mind bowing your heads with me. Dear God, thank you for bringing us together here on His Princess Christian community. Thank you for opening the door for people to join our community, for connecting us and strengthening our bond. Thank you for opening our eyes, our ears, our hearts, and our minds to your word. Thank you for your wisdom, understanding, and clarity as we seek to interpret your word. And thank you for the courage to apply it to our daily lives. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, Matthew chapter 25. Then the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 bridesmaids, who took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. The 5 who were foolish didn't take enough olive oil for their lamps, but the other 5 were wise enough to take along extra oil. When the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight they were aroused by the shout, "Look, the bridegroom is coming. Come out and meet him." All the bridesmaids got up and prepared their lamps. Then the 5 foolish ones asked the others, "Please give us some of your oil, because our lamps are going out." But the others replied, "We don't have enough for all of us. Go to a shop and buy some for yourselves." But while they were gone to buy oil, the bridegroom came. Then those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast, and the doors were locked. Later, when the other 5 bridesmaids returned, they stood outside calling, "Lord, Lord, open the door for us." But he called back, "Believe me, I do not know you. So you too must keep watch, for you do not know the day or hour of my return." Again, the kingdom of heaven will be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities. He then left on his trip. The servant who received 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. The servant with 2 bags of silver went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they had used his money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, "Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 5 more." The master was full of praise. "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." The servant who had received the 2 bags of silver came forward and said, "Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 2 more." The master said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." Then the servant with the 1 bag of silver came and said, "Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here's your money back." But the master replied, "You wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it." Then he ordered, "Take the money from this servant and give it to the one with the 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. Now throw this useless servant into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of the teeth. Then the Son of Man comes into glory, with the angels with him. Then he will sit upon the glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered in his presence, and he will separate the people as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will place the sheep at his right hand and the goats at his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me into your home. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you cared for me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then these righteous ones will reply, "Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink, or a stranger and show you hospitality, or naked and give you clothing? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will say, "I tell you the truth. When you did it to one of the least of these, when you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you are doing it to me." Then the king will return to those who left and say, "Away with you, you cursed ones, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his demons. For I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was thirsty and you didn't give me a drink. I was a stranger and you didn't invite me into your home. I was naked and you didn't give me clothing. I was sick and in prison and you didn't visit me." Then they will reply, "Lord, when did we ever see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and not help you?" And he will answer, "I tell you the truth. When you refused to help the least of these my brothers and sisters, you were refusing to help me." And they will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous will go into eternal life. Amen. So what did you think of Matthew chapter 25? I'm interested to hear about it in the comments below. Let me know what your insights or interpretations were on the chapter. Maybe comment your favorite verse, or just say hi and let us know that you're part of the community. And if you've been blessed, let us know so that we can rejoice with you. And if you need prayer, make sure you're putting that in the comments too, so we can pray together as a community. So the first parable in Matthew 25 is the parable of the 10 bridesmaids. And this is really just reminding us that we need to be prepared. We can't come to God, half-cocked, so to speak. We have to come fully equipped with everything that He has given us to honor and glorify Him. Every day, God blesses us with everything that we need to honor and glorify Him throughout the day. We just have to use it. And He's given us this wonderful word to guide us through life. And we have to take heed and apply it to our lives. We have to read it, soak it in, simmer in it, spend time with it, and really apply it to our lives as best that we can. And we need to seek His forgiveness in everything that we fall short on, and accept His grace and mercy. It's talking about how 5 were foolish and didn't take enough oil for their lamps. So, I see a lot of people who only do so much of Christianity. Like, they go to church every Sunday, but that's about it. People who maybe, I'll just read a verse a day, and then that's about it. Who don't do don't really fully spend time with God. I don't really have money to give, so I'm not going to really do anything. I'm just going to, that's just one of the rules I'm not really going to follow. They kind of pick and choose which rules or which commands or which things that they want to obey. And those are the 5 foolish bridesmaids. The 5 that were prepared, are the ones who are doing everything that God asked us to do, and who are ready when He comes. They can take rest because they know that when God comes, they're prepared. And that's how I want to be. I don't want to get to the door of heaven and it be locked. And I'm banging on the door and I'm like, believe, and then God says, "Believe me, I don't know you," because He doesn't, because I haven't spent time with Him. And so that's why I try to dedicate, a decent amount of my time every day to spending time in His Word, reading His Word, really trying to meditate on it and soak it in. And then, I try to give back as much as that I can and just follow His commandments. It's not hard, although the enemy will try to make it seem difficult. And he definitely did for me when I was first starting to get back into spending time with God. He tried to shine a light on all the other things that I could be doing, or these are the things you should be doing. Why aren't you going out and partying? Why aren't you going and doing these things? He reminded me of, you could be binge watching TV right now, but you're reading the Bible. How boring. But it's not boring. The Bible is really interesting if we get the enemy out of our head, and really just spend time in the Word. And so I think that it's important that, as verse 13 says, so you too must keep watch, for you do not know the day or the hour of my return. We never know when God is coming, and we don't want it to be too late. So we want to make sure that we're on time for that. The next parable is the parable of the three servants. And this one really, hit me hard because, it's talking about how God gives according to your abilities. So, in my past, I used to look to people and I used to, be jealous or envious of how much they had. But then, God really, in spending time in His Word, He really shined a light that I haven't always been a good steward over what He has given me. And maybe that's why He has given me less. So, I'm really working hard to be a better steward of what God is giving me and taking care of the things that I am blessed with, so that He will see that I can do well with what He's giving me and bless me with more. But I also see that there's a poverty mindset in this parable as well. A lot of the times when you are focused on your lack instead of on the goodness of God, you can get stuck in like a hoarding mentality because you are used to not having anything, because you don't have that faith in God's provision. And you can say, like, I know that I always struggled with tithing because I never felt like I had enough to tithe. I always felt like I was living paycheck to paycheck and I didn't really have enough to tithe. But what God showed me is that He is asking for 10% of my increase. So, after I'm able to provide for myself, so that means being a good steward over paying my bills, because I owe these people, I need to pay them. Being a good steward over, eating, that means not, spending too much money, being gluttonous and eating more than I need to, just buying what I need to survive. And then whatever I have left, make sure I'm giving Him 10%. Start there. And then it'll get easier and easier. So maybe if you only have $10 left over after you've paid all your bills and eat, what are you doing with that $10? And I was often saying, oh, wow, I have 10 extra dollars. Maybe I'll order a pizza this weekend instead of eating noodles. But God shows you that if you take that 10% of what you have left, how much more that He will bless you. And it feels good once you have that faith in Him, and it feels so good, and He shows you what His provision looks like. And it is so much abundance, and it just feels so good. So I think that it's just a new way of thinking. We have to change the way, we've been brainwashed to have this poverty mindset, and trust in God's provision, and just make sure that we're giving Him, starting out with just giving Him 10% of our increase and trusting Him with what He's going to do with the rest. And just asking Him for His discernment and guidance for how we should spend our money. A lot of us don't know about budgeting, or, how to have self-control and be a little bit more frugal, and how to ask God for that desire to be frugal and that desire to enjoy what you do have. I mean, God provided manna, and sometimes we just have to think of it that way in some of the things that we eat, and just ask God to help direct us to, God, make this taste as good as if I was at a 5-star restaurant. And God will bless you to be able to delight in whatever He provides for you. Just like with the manna, it was sweet to the taste, but those who had the wrong heart, were not happy with it. So, and we saw what happened to them. They were plagued. So let's not let that happen to us. Let's be grateful for what we do have. Pray to God to be able to delight in His provision, and just, be grateful for His provision, and know that He can take that 5 loaves and 2 fish and fill you up with it. So whatever you have, He will make it more than enough for you. So then the last section is, and just, I wrote up to the side, use well what you are given. Then the last section is talking about the final judgment. And it says that He will separate people as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will place the sheep at His right hand and the goats at His left. And it says, come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. And this is the part that separates us. It says, for I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you invited me into your home. I was naked and you gave me clothing. I was sick and you cared for me. I was in prison and you visited me. And I think that it's so important that it's by the love that is in our hearts that God separates us. You know, he separates us based upon our heart and how we treat and how we're treating other people. You know, it's important to recognize that, because there's a lot of people out there that are just cruel, they're mean, they're bullies, they taunt and torment, they provoke you. They're like the Pharisees and try to test your religion. You know, so don't let them get to you, because at the end of the day, God is going to separate the wheat from the chaff. He's going to separate the sheep from the goats, and he is going to he has already prepared a place for you in heaven. Those who are following his commands and those who are, you know, helping those in needs. Because like, as he said, when you're helping one of his brothers and sisters, which is every one of us, when you're helping them, you're helping him. So I think that it's important that we take heed to that and acknowledge that when we're helping other people, even if they're mean to us or rude, or even if they're intentionally trying to harm us, and, you know, we turn the other cheek, then God is going to bless you abundantly for it. And in their case, the door is going to be shut to them. It says, then the king will turn to those on the left and say, and I love this because it says, and the goats at the left. Okay, so, you know, goats, the God of all things, like if you've ever heard that saying. So people who just think they're the best at everything, and just think that they're too good to help other people. And it says, away with you, cursed ones, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his demons. So into the eternal fire prepared for him and his demons, where there's going to be weeping and gnashing of the teeth. Whatever that is, it sounds horrible. I don't want it. I do not want to gnash my teeth. And it says, and then, you know, they asked, when did you ever see me hungry or thirsty? And he answered, when you refused to help the least. So when you refuse to help the ones that you would least want to help, then you are refusing to help me. So just remember that when you refuse to help someone who really needs it, when you refuse to do the right thing by somebody, then when you refuse to just be kind to people, that you're refusing to help God. And I think that it hurts me so much that I see so many Christians out there that claim that they're doing the will of God, but really they're harming people and they're hurting people and they're just big bullies. And it's just, you know, they shut the door on people who just need love based on some of their choices, instead of guiding them along the path. And I know it's not easy. It's hard for me. It's really hard for me to love the people who are mean to me and who bully me, you know, daily. It's very hard, but I trust God and I just give those feelings to God. I say, God, I really don't want to be mean. I just want to turn away from these people. I want to shut the door on these people. God, please change my heart. You know, show me how to love them the way that you love them. And God is really softening my heart to these people and allowing me to still be kind, allowing me to be undisturbed and unbothered by their torments and their taunts. And I just really appreciate it. I'm so grateful for God's mercy and grace in those situations, because he can give it to you as well. And it says, and they will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous will go into eternal life. So when I see these people being mean to me, I often remember that, hey, you know, I know where I'm going and I know where you're going. Better change up. You know, you still have time to change your evil ways. You know, because God is going to separate us. And, you know, just be blessed that you're set apart. Just remember that, you know, when you're feeling alone, when you're feeling backed into a corner, when you're feeling all by yourself, just be grateful that you are set apart and know that you are one of the righteous ones. So that is my interpretation of Matthew chapter 25. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about it. Leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you stay blessed, stay in God's presence, and have a great rest of your day. I love you.